So in terms of collaboration, I think one of the main themes of the topic today was having a self-awareness of your own position and having an open-minded approach to work with the other teams, giving them the opportunity to explain their positions first, and then using that information and seeking to understand their position, and then communicating the risk in context of their roles to get more collaboration. I think there are various risks. One of the ones from the non-security colleagues' side is, of course, they're prioritized based on their projects and deadlines, and oftentimes security isn't given due consideration. So when the business gets go fever to meet a deadline, then the non-functional requirements like security are some of the ones that suffer, and they're so focused on making that delivery, they don't give due consideration to the security risks. On the security side, I feel that sometimes we don't do enough to communicate the risk to the other teams, and we assume that just because we have an understanding of the threats and the environment that they have the same understanding, and we sometimes assume the worst of them, that they are not deliberately paying attention to security risks, or they don't care about protecting the company's data, which usually isn't the case. It's mostly that they don't think like we do, they don't have the same exposure and understanding that we do. So I think there's a little bit on both sides, but primarily being in the GRC role or security role, I feel we need to take the leadership in communicating the risk to the teams in the context of their work. GRC has been a relatively new term, and there are a lot of components in GRC and in organizations. They've been allocated to different groups. There's often not a separate GRC function, so I see more formalization of the role. There's tremendous overlap between the different, the portfolio basically that falls within GRC and the other teams, but I see that being segregated a little bit, being formalized. There's a lot of adoption of GRC technologies coming out. However, the issue with that is that companies are moving forward to getting those technologies without having really well-defined executed processes. And there's a challenge where you just go and get a tool, you don't have your process well-defined, it's not going to be very successful. So I think there's going to be some challenges where we'll have to formalize the processes, make them more defined, and able to get value out of the GRC tools. There's also going to be more focus, I think, and it's pretty obvious, on the third-party risk management side, with all the OCC guidance from 2013 in the financial sector, and the other sectors sort of catching up with that too, and emphasizing third-party risk, especially with some of the recent breaches having originated there. So that's kind of a bizarre, I mean, it was, I think just by accident, it almost happened by accident. I have a development background. I worked in a security-related role before many years ago. I took a really long career break for my kids, and so when I was getting back into the workforce, or actually I was just still at home with, on my career break, my husband happens to be in information security also, so I think some of it rubbed off from him, and I had a lot of exposure to the field, and during my time off I got my CISSP certification, and when I went back to work I had an option to either go into development or security. I was still open to what direction I would go to, and I happened to get a good opportunity in compliance and risk at a company that was close enough to my house where I was willing to start back out, and here I am.